Good morning and Assalamu alaikum. I've been given a topic which is very dear to me because this is something I've been doing for the past 20 odd years. What I'll try to do today is give you a short introduction to this region and then take up some questions on a need basis on what questions you have. So, the first slide I've put up is basically giving you a comparison between India and GCC because most of us here are from India, and to get a feel of where GCC stands compared to India. The first thing that you can see on the screen is the population of India and GCC. When you see this itself, a real question arises whether, anyone needs to ever even do business in the Middle East. Because the population of the GCC is only 4% of India. Now, the next figure that I've given down there, which is the GDP, sort of answers a bit of the dilemma, which is even though it's only 4% of the population, the GDP is around 54% of India. So that clearly shows there's a market out there which has the spending power. The third fact that is put up there, which is actually the per capita income, sort of tells you what people in this region may buy and what has more potential here. Because when the GDP is lower, people sort of get satisfied with their needs. The moment GDP goes beyond a certain point, the wants creep in. And the entire beauty and toiletry section of the supermarket is all on the wants area. So if you are a person who's selling these kind of products, then yes, of course, the GCC has more potential than India to sell them. The next couple of facts that I want you to show you is more again comparing India and GCC to open up some more light on this matter. And this is more relevant for the distribution bit because in a country like India, where you have 12 million plus stores, I mean, this is one estimate, but you can have varying estimates. And when you take that and compare to UAE, where you have only 64,000 outlets, then the reachability is much easier in the Gulf countries. Now, what makes it challenging in GCC compared to India is, in India, the stores are widespread apart, and the bargaining power of each store is limited. But when you come to the Middle East, what happens is, in the Gulf Cooperative Council countries, most of the business happens through modern trade. And this automatically changes the dynamics of your doing business here. Because in India, they say distribution is God. If that cliche holds in India, the cliche for the Middle East would be modern trade is God. Because they sort of decide what is to be sold in this part of the world. Now, this is just a chart showing you the number of outlets across the countries. And you can see Saudi actually has a majority of the outlets in the Gulf Cooperative Council countries. Now, one reason why the organized trade or the modern trade is only 49% in this region is Saudi Arabia. Because Saudi has only close to around 40% modern trade business. While a country like UAE has about 60% of the business being done through modern trade. So this is how the things get balanced out in this part of the world. Now, this is I've just put this together because that 64,000 that you saw on the last sheet is added up this way. So I've not taken any HoReCa outlets into this numbers. All I've taken is modern trade, and you can see 9,832 modern trade outlets actually sell 49% of the cargo that is sold through retail outlets in this part of the world. While if you see in India, only 9% is sold by the modern trade. So modern trade is very powerful in this part of the world, and knowing how to do business with them is very important in doing business here. This chart I've put up just to show you how the retail growth is happening in this part of the world, and also to show you how non-food is important. When your GDP goes up, per capita income goes up, there is a tendency to spend more on your wants, and this sheet sort of clearly shows that. People spend more on non-food than in food in this part of the world. And that is increasing every year. Now, this is a slide I'd like to spend some time on for people who are interested in doing business in this part of the world. There are certain activities that are done here, if you want to be in business. The first is, of course, the very dreaded listing fee, which any principal who's come to this part of the world, that is his nightmare. They come in, they want to do business, and then the moment they hear the listing fees, they're right to leave and go back home. This used to be applicable only to modern trade. Today, this is applicable to the general trade also. The only exception is the groceries. So groceries is a part of the general trade. It is not something separate. We have just put it separate so that you can understand there are certain things that are not applicable to the groceries. So the past couple of years, even the smaller B-class supermarkets are now demanding a listing fee. The second thing is rebates. Now again, since I think last year or so, a lot of smaller supermarkets now ask for rebates. They want a regular rebate and a progressive rebate. The progressive rebate is usually paid when you reach a certain amount of turnover. And we can't blame them either, because a lot of businesses now survive on that, because they buy and sell, and what they make at the bottom line of their business is usually the rebate that they get. So that rebate sort of becomes their net profit at times. The third thing I've written is trade promotion. Promoting your products it has to be done very scientifically in this part of the world. Because if you spend money and do a promotion, it does not guarantee you that you'll have better sales or that your brand will become better in the mind of your consumer. So that has to be deeply thought through and done well, and if it's not, you're wasting a lot of your money. Now, this is usually done in modern trade. I'm sorry again. Trade promotion here, what is meant is the schemes that you operate. So you have this 12 plus 1, or you have a card scheme, for example, where you give points for each item bought, and then they add up and they get a free trip somewhere, or they get some goods free. Now, in modern trade, this is not applicable, because modern trade, they will not entertain such things during the year. They negotiate with you what they want throughout the year. They set their targets, their progressive rebates, etc., and that's the end of it. But for the general trade, which is the wholesalers or certain B-class stores, you can go and tell them that, I have a special offer today. I can give you a 20 plus 1 if you take it today, which is not applicable next month, and they would entertain you and they would buy from you. This you can do even with groceries. A lot of schemes that are run with groceries are the 12 plus 1, 6 plus 1s. And usually if you have a portfolio of around 50 to 60 products, you may offer this on 3 to 4 products or 10 products maximum. Offtake drives. These are the activities that I was talking about before, which I mistook as the offtake drives are the ones I was saying that if you do your activities in a store, and where you will be spending money on the display, you'll be spending money on prices that you're giving out, you'll be spending money on a promoter. If you do not do that right, and you do not do that scientifically, there is a chance that you will actually spoil your brand image, or you could actually end up with sales which is not even equivalent to the spend that you made. The last but not least is the consumer engagement activity. These are activities that you usually do in a shop floor where you can talk directly to your customers, where you have a promoter standing and discussing the benefits of your product, or explain or doing a live, if it is a food product, doing a live demo of how the product is made and making them taste it. So these kind of things can be done in modern trade and in very few general trade outlets. Not in all of them. There are a few general trade outlets where there is enough space and the ambience is right for doing them. And in groceries, this is usually out of the question. Last but not least, what I want to express is that when you come to do business in this part of the world and the product has to be introduced, understanding the different kind of markets, understanding the entry barriers, and understanding where you can actually get your ROI is very important. And in the food industry, what a lot of people have done is, apart from these 3 trade channels, which are mainly retail, they have gone and started investing in the HoReCa segment. Now, HoReCa, your sales is not usually based on the advertisement that you've done on ATL or otherwise. It is usually by your person going and explaining the benefits of your product, making them sample it, and buy into the idea and the cost efficiency of your product. So in that kind of a business, you don't have to really build in a lot of advertising costs or any other costs, but at the same time, there is a lot of legwork and a lot of effort being put in to make the brand an accepted one to the kitchen. So this is how a lot of businesses have actually safeguarded their businesses in this part of the world, and how they make sure that they get the ROI on what they have when they invest into the brand or the products. With this, I would like to end my talk and open up the floor for questions, because I think questions are more important in this kind of a presentation. Thank you. Any questions?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
As we know that the VAT has been introduced, so how do you see the VAT affecting the grocery business, supermarket business? What is your opinion about the, or how should they be prepared for, this new reality?
See, for VAT, frankly, customers, it's the end consumer who's actually paying the VAT. So really, for a businessman, it does not matter. The only way it matters is he has to keep account for what he's received and keep account for what he's paid. So every small business today who did not have the financial discipline, they are forced to keep some financial discipline going forward. So that is a hard reality, which they have to do, because the government has brought VAT into place. I believe that our experience is most of our customers have actually registered for VAT, and most of the distribution companies here, not most, I think pretty much 100% of the distribution companies are only giving goods after charging VAT. So it is in the disinterest of the grocer if he does not register for VAT and he does not charge that to his consumer. I hope I have answered your question. I'm sorry, I don't hear you.
Hi. Trade promotion and offtake drive, what is a minor difference in that?
See, trade promotion is a promotion that is given to the trade. That's where I made a mistake first. The trade promotion is what you give the trader as a promotion. For example, if I give a grocer a 12+1, he buys 12 pieces, he gets a piece to keep. That goes into his bottom line. He's not giving that to the consumer. An offtake promotion is usually something where you're offering the customer, when you walk into a hypermarket or supermarket in this part of the world, they will say 3+1, which goes to the consumer. That is more related to an offtake from the floor.
Thanks.
It's not a very sales or marketing technical question. And UAE, what we see is that most of the time, and many of the supermarkets chains provide 50% promotions, most of the time. And also before the VAT, it's like before December, they are trying to sell off everything, giving big promotions and all. But after the VAT also introduced, the same promotions keeps going. Okay, does it mean that the market is not fairly priced?
See, usually these kind of promotions that are done by retailers there is this concept about price drivers, products that end consumers usually know the price of. Okay, if you see, none of the products that are the unpopular products or non-popular products are not put on special offer. What is put on special offer are products which every common man like me and you know the price of. And this is done only to drive the customer into the store. Okay? And this is not necessarily done by anyone other than the retail store itself subsidizing or reducing prices. So if you ask, the price is given to the entire market, not 100% right, but there could be a 5 or 6% up and down, because depending on the trade, because certain hypermarkets, as I said, in India, while distribution is God, here modern trade is God. So sometimes modern trade will tell you what price you should sell to them at, and sometimes you have to give in. But after they buy at that price, a lot of times they discount further. Sometimes within the rebate structure they're getting, sometimes even beyond that, to drive footfall. Because retail business is all about footfalls. If you don't have the footfall, it doesn't exist. Yes. Sometimes they do go below cost too. Sometimes. I'm not saying always, but sometimes.
Can you please explain to me, just for our all information, from Jalil Trading to Jalil Holding, your growth?
Okay, that is a small question but a long answer. I don't know whether anyone wants to hear that. See, basically my father, I'll try to keep it within 5 minutes, okay? I'll try my best. My father started this business in 1972 as a fruit trading company in the Murshid Bazaar area. Okay, that store is now, it later became Jalil Electrical, and then I don't know what it is now. The building is vacant. So he used to predominantly sell fruits and vegetables. And in 1975, they moved to the new fish market, which is actually the current Gold Souk parking lot. In front of the Gold Souk, you see a bus parking lot. That was the old fish market. In 1980, the old Hamriya market opened up. So he put up a store there also. Those are the two stores. So for a long time, from 1980 onwards until around 2003, we were in the Hamriya market. We had multiple stores. One store became many. And a key game changer was in 1988 when we opened up the foodstuff business, where next to the fruit store, they started selling some salt, sugar, etc. In 2001, we opened our first vegetable store in that same line. Okay, and before that we had some consignment businesses, which is the fruit business also open, multiple fruit businesses opening up. So in a nutshell, from in 72 to around 2001, we predominantly were in the food business, which was rice and other things, and the fruits business. And then in 2001, we opened up the non-food, the cosmetics and toiletries, the segment I was showing, which is improving in this part of the world. We started that and the vegetable business. In 2005, we started a supermarket chain called J-Mart. And in 2006, we rebranded our foodstuff wholesaling business as Jalil Wholesale Point, where we brought the fruits, vegetables, the cosmetics and toiletries, and foodstuff all under one roof. Now that was a big change for us, because apart from being a single shop owner, we brought everything together in one place and experimented a new concept, which was after the cash and carry concept in the Middle East. Sorry, in the US, the West, the US and Europe. It was 2 years back that we rechristened this Jalil Wholesale Point as Jalil Cash and Carry, because we felt it was time that this wholesale model can move more towards the European concept, where customers could now come and pick in goods at a much easier way, and also we could entertain retail customers to an extent. Now, Jalil Holdings, along the way, what happened is, when all these businesses happened, we have around 25 different business units running parallel to each other. So we thought it was time to consolidate. Also, since we were getting into other businesses like education and metal fabrication. So we consolidated this all under a parent company called Jalil Holdings, and we let professionals run the different businesses for us, which up to around 2007, I was running most of the business myself, which, with the challenging market, and, entrepreneurs are not few in this part of the world. They're plenty, and they're aggressive. So one, Samir could not handle this for sure. So we had to get professionals to help us head each business, and we felt that it was time to consolidate, and that's how Jalil Holdings came up. Hope I gave you a very
Yeah, we understand that you have introduced many Kerala brands in UAE and made them household names. Can you briefly tell us one successful such introduction of some brand, and
Okay.
also why it got successful, and maybe if any product failed, what was the reason? Some sharing of experiences.
So Nawaz is also here. Eastern is a brand I hold very close to my heart again because his father, Mr. M.E. Miran, was my mentor. It's from him I learned a lot of things that I do today. So Eastern was the first, one of the first brands. We had RKG and Al Jalib tea before that, but Eastern was a product that we actually introduced as a brand and it grew as a brand in this part of the world. And today, a company that we have in joint venture with them manages Eastern for the region also. It's called Eastern Condiments, Middle East and North Africa. So in this, how Eastern started off is, we first brought in a lot of products in the first container, and we sold them in this market. Now, the difference that Miranka had was, he used to visit and he never called me and said, you have to lift the next container. That was never his priority. So he came to market, he went around the market and saw what was selling and what was not. And you will not believe this, the entire CTC, which is the coriander, turmeric, and chili that came in the first lot, was pretty much all thrown away in the end of the first year. And the reason was a simple thing. UAE was used to transparent packs. The transparent pack where you can see the chili, coriander. Eastern had sent it to us in the duple packs. And this product, the duple pack, sells everywhere else in the GCC. It sells well in Saudi, Kuwait, etc. But in UAE, customers were not willing to accept it, and they were not willing to pick it up. So the first lesson for me was, he was successful because he was not interested in the primary sales. He was not interested in just selling me something and taking his money. He was more interested in making sure that the product sold well even after me. Okay. Second thing is, he came to market and he used to go rounds and he used to come back and say, there are some products which are more than 8 months or 10 months old in the market, or 12 months depending on the time, and he say, I think it's time you should pick them back up, or they're damaged products in the market, please pick them up and throw them away and raise the debit note to me, I'll pay you. This could be products which are damaged by the shopkeeper. Because he said, I don't want a shopkeeper to feel that Eastern has cost him some loss. Now this is very important because the first case he took care of me, second case he took care of the trade. The third thing he came and said is, he said, I know my product has an expiry period of 24 months, but I don't want products on the shelf more than 8 months old. Okay, I would prefer to have products on the shelf which are fresher than 8 months. Now who does that take care of? The consumer, because he wants to give the product fresh to them. And he was never willing to add any chemical or product to his produce to elongate the life. Because when we had problems of weevils, because after 18 months or so, weevils would start popping up. He was not willing to add any chemicals to it to make sure that the weevils didn't come. So I think the first lesson I learned was, you need to make sure that your distributor is taken care of. You need to make sure that the trader in the market is taken care of. And you need to also make sure that the end consumer gets the right product. So I hope I've answered the question. Then on things that have not worked, there are plenty. And usually it's when people have any of these things wrong. Either he wants to get his money out of me fast, or he wants to just make sure that the trader, it doesn't matter, as long as he sells to the trader and anything happens to his problem, or he wants to cheat the final consumer. He wants to add some product adulteration or whatever to it, and he doesn't care what the customer wants. Okay. I hope I'm done then. Thank you very much for being a great audience. Thank you. Thank you, Chal.
Come on, Kerala. Come on,